It's got me locked on screen. Hang on, guys. It doesn't want to let me. What is going on? Aha. Okay. There we go. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties starting today's broadcast, but I think we're back in gear now. So let's go ahead and let's read from the first chapter of Along Came a Spider. Give me a shout if you're here. Let me know who you are and where you're joining me from today. I am going to be using my blue light blocking glasses just so I don't burn my eyes out as I read. We're going to have a little conversation about Along Came a Spider today. You can see we've got Muffet and Spider on screen with me down in the corner. Oh, I pointed the right way. Fantastic. And we're going to read this together. So here we go. Little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet, eating her curds and whey. Along came a spider who sat down beside her and frightened Miss Muffet away. Chapter 1. Find her, if you can. The words scrolled across the screen of the device before crackling away. Fet looked down in disgust, tempted to throw the device across the room. Instead, she tucked it into the pocket of her skirt and stood so quickly she nearly toppled the screen in front of her. The light from the screen bounced off the ceiling of the dark room, lit only by glowing computers. The display wall illuminated the right side of Fet's coworker harshly as she looked up from where she was secretly slipping into the innermost workings of a government technology system for her superiors. Fet, the girl asked her boss. Never mind, T, she said as softly as the hard edge that resides in her voice would allow. Go back to work. I'll handle this. What's wrong? A tall, lanky guy in glasses asked from across the room. Whew, sorry guys, cold reading. It's a thing. It doesn't matter, BB. I'm handling it. Fet glared, flicking her wrist in his direction. She had no time for his emotional attachment to her unexpected problem. Her eyes darted to where the message had been on her screen only moments before. You tell us right now, or what? Fet bellowed. What will you do, BB? Hack me? Ha! I'd like to see him try, T snickered. Shut up, T. Clearly something is happening here and she's not telling us. If I have to take this to Peep, I will, the boy threatened to run to his girlfriend. Fet raised an eyebrow in challenge. She knew what BB did not. Their leader wasn't there. Where is Peep, anyway? I haven't seen her all day, T asked, looking around the room as the others stirred from their stations. Fet's device buzzed in her pocket, lighting up against her thigh. All eyes dragged across the room to focus on the slight vibrating sound that they were all entirely tuned into. Sliding her fingers along her hip, she retrieved the technology. Propping her elbow against her body, she leaned to the side to read the new message. A video queued up and BB was at her side before she could keep the audio from filling the room. Muffet, the voice filled the room. Don't do it. The girl's voice was cut off as a slap sent her flying to the floor. BB gasped, his eyes widening as he realized what he was seeing. T grabbed Fet's arm, jerking her away from the device. She regained her balance in time for an off-camera voice to pick up the message. Hello again, Muffet. I see you received my first message. So glad we could connect. The digital voice sang in a monotone registry pitched far too high to be within the acceptable range of human hearing. If you want your lackey alive, crack the code, fix the problem. I'll be in touch with your first puzzle. Muffet, don't! Get out, now! Another crack sounded just before the screen fizzled out. Run a trace, Fet commanded, sending BB and the others scattering across the room to their computers. They have Peep, and we have to find her. But Fet, if they have Peep, why are they contacting us? T asked, fingers flying over her keyboard as she tried to glance up as she worked, her brown hair falling in her face. She tucked a random braid behind her ear, its tie matching her deep red lipstick. Because they don't know Peep is in charge. Peep hides behind me. You know that, T, Fet criticized. I'm the face of the legends, or the handle, I guess. They're using her to get to me. They don't realize they already have the girl that they want. And let's keep it that way, BB cautioned angrily, concerned for his girlfriend's well-being, pulled tightly on the corners of his eyes and pounded out through his fingers as they flew across the keyboard. Walk away, now. Words suddenly sprawled across the screen in Fet's hand. Glancing around the room, Fet casually walked over to T and grabbed her by the collar. Keep them occupied. I'll be in touch. Fet hissed, throwing the other girl back into her seat. The small girl was too shocked to fight back, simply nodding in acknowledgement. Fet wound her way around the room toward the door, the others not bothering to look up as she searched through the deepest crevices of the dark web occupied their thoughts. She slipped the door open silently and crept into the outside room. A blue glow filled the space, feeling much more open than the confines of the inner office of the hidden building. Sounds of clicking. Oh, wow, guys. Sorry, it's a day. Sounds of clicking filled the air as the new recruits continued their assigned tasks, sitting in their final destinations before being accepted into the legends. The next step for them was through the door Fett had just vacated. Several heads looked up as she passed, her pink plaid skirt swishing as she stomped through the room, but they didn't say a word as she thundered through. Unlooping the necklace that hung over her chest, she plugged it into the device, sending her messages. The other end coiled behind her and around to the opposite hip where she kept her secondary device. Typing code into her alternate tech, she kicked the door shut behind her, slamming it against the wall. She never had minded scaring the recruits. "What have you gotten yourself into, Bo Peep?" she muttered as she snaked her way down the streets and alleyways until she reached a spot where she could escape detection. Turning off all the cameras from her device, she ensured she would be undetectable. "Now what?" she mumbled to herself. "What exactly are you doing?" Fett's fist flew up in an effort to defend herself against the man who was about to attack her. There was no way she'd let herself be taken like Peep had been. "Whoa, easy there, killer." The man stepped backwards, hands raised in front of him. Fett was uncertain if it was in surrender or in defense. "What are you doing?" Fett stage whispered through bared teeth to convey her annoyance while still keeping from being overheard on the street. "You lit out of there like your pigtails were on fire," the man said, appraising her. Fett looked him over for the first time. His leather jacket accentuated his long, dark hair, short on one side, long on the other. His combat boots were taller than hers, nearly laced to his knees. All he was missing was a couple of facial piercings, and he could have passed as a modern-day music star. "I don't know you," Fett said, standing. Turning away, she waved him off and tried to leave. "I'm a trainee from the recruitment class. You've worked with me before." He followed after her. "Don't care." She continued her escape. "You should," he snapped at her, reaching out for her arm. "I'm the best help you've got." "I don't need help." She slapped his hand away, holding back the punch that she wanted to land on his face. "Yes, you do." "I don't want your help," she corrected. "I was right by the door. I heard it all. This is big. Peep is missing, and you're supposed to be finding her. No, you're supposed to be on your, but no one knows about me." He shrugged. "So let me help. I'll be your secret weapon." "Can you even hack, little one?" she said spitefully, hoping to insult him. He stood a head above her at least, but couldn't possibly have half her talent. "Better than you," he sneered, finally a spark in his gaze. "Dream on," she chastised, pushing him away from her. A moment later, her device buzzed against her thigh. Pulling it from her pocket, she discovered a message. "Told you," it read. When she slowly turned, the dark-clothed man was waving his device to her. "Can we try this again, Muffet?" "You know?" she asked, her face going slack. "Of course I know who you are, Muffet," he said, informing her that he knew her as more than just Fett. "I've been following you for a long time. You're the entire reason I signed up for the Legends." Fett stepped closer as she realized this was no ordinary recruit. "Who are you?" "Spider," he answered, as if his name alone should send her running to hide in a corner. Instead, her fist slammed into his shoulder, just missing his neck. "You destroyed the wall job last year," she screamed, her anger overtaking her sense of self-preservation. "You cost me a year's wages." "Oh, get over yourself, Muffet. To the victor goes the spoils," he smirked at her. Gritting her teeth, she backed up to launch another attack. "Knock it off, Muffet. We can fight later. Right now, we have to find Peep." He grabbed her airborne wrist, holding off her punch. Twisting, she pulled away. The chances of finding someone as skilled as Spider, much less one that no one knew was involved, were non-existent. "Fine," she acquiesced. "Good. I already pulled the data from your device." He smiled, tipping his technology back and forth once again. "Your first task came in during your assault, by the way." Her eyes narrowed at the boy, but he allowed her fingers to travel the familiar path to the device, retrieving it and swiping it to life. "You will perform a series of tasks. Go to the hub. On the roof, you will find an access panel to the network. Crack the code." "What does it say?" Spider asked innocently. With his chin tipped slightly away from her, he looked out under the veil of his dark hair on one side, eyes wide. "Aren't bugs supposed to have big eyes? Look for yourself." Fett waved her hand to dismiss him. "You're in charge here, Fett. This is your mission, and I have to keep a low profile." "I'll follow your lead," Spider said, falling into step behind her as she turned and marched toward the local center of technology. If you actually meant that, you'd leave so I wouldn't have to squash you, she said angrily, her boot crushing against the gravel louder than usual. Don't be so petty, Muffet, he growled. You need me. As if to make his point, he leaned into her, brushing his leather jacket against her arm. Sighing loudly, she elbowed him, driving him just far enough away to create a slight separation between them. Ordinarily, she might be worried her device was being cloned, but since he had already done that, the proximity only served to anger her. So there you have it. That is the first chapter of Along Came a Spider. If you've got questions, I would love to hear from you. And we can talk all about Along Came a Spider. Go ahead and drop those down. Thank you guys for joining. Appreciate all of you being here. This is the first book in the Legends Chronicles. We do have a second book as well, which is And They'll Come Home. This is actually Bo Peep's point of view. So this one kind of centers around Muffet and Spider. The second one, And They'll Come Home, does focus along Bo Peep's storyline, as well as somebody you haven't met yet that I'm not going to tell you about, but is a good little twist inside of this story. This is actually for free to read, so you can read the first book right now for free in ebook format by going to ACAS Info, so that's ACAS, Along Came a Spider, ACAS info.kmrobinsonbooks.com, and you can grab that for free on all the platforms right now if you want to check that out and read along with me. I'm going to take these off. I'm not reading. But we've got all sorts of really cool things. And of course, you can check out the world portals as well, where we've got interactive choose your own adventure games that you can play for this series. There's artwork, there's all sorts of behind the scenes, there's trailers, there's all the good stuff when it comes to creating and reading these really fun books. I hope you will go check that out. And we are doing live book readings every single Wednesday, usually in the morning. I actually accidentally put the time out in the newsletter, so I ran with it today. But usually it is at 11 a.m. right here on our YouTube page and on our Facebook page as well. So you can definitely come check that out every single week. And let me know, which book do you want me to read the first chapter of next week? We have done a number of them already, so make sure you check the YouTube page and the Facebook page to see which ones are already done. But you can vote for what is coming next. Today we voted for Along Came a Spider. The other option for today was Virtually Sleeping Beauty, so we could do that one next week if you wanted. We can pick one of the other ones, but I'm really excited to continue this series, and when we get through with all of my books, we might just be taking a look at some of my author friends' books as well. To play the game, you actually can go over to my website. They're all linked over there. They're played through Facebook Messenger, and I want to say it's jointhelegends.kmrobinsonbooks.com takes you directly to the game, but you can also find it through my website through the portal on the world portal on the website. Sorry, I saw a question come in and I lost my train of thought there. Freedom says, was it difficult to write about tech? Did you create your tech, or are you inspired by real life devices? Well, you guys know I'm a very techie person. I developed a web design business when I was 14 years old. So that was well over half my life ago. And I'm just a very techie person. I like the creative side of tech rather than the wires side of tech. So it was very much inspired by things that are real, but it is very futuristic. It is set in a dystopian, futuristic world. And so I did create a lot of the technology. It's rooted in things that we're aware of right now, but it is very far in the future. And so there's some fun little twists in there. And of course, there's a play on the original nursery rhyme. So this is based on the Little Miss Muffet nursery rhyme. And you guys know I have chords in the way in there. It's a little bit of a twist on it. There's some computery things. And they have to go fight the evil Piper to get Peep back. So we get to go to this center of technology. So the country that they're living in centers around this technology. There are actual buildings and people that protect it that host the technology and allow people to do basically everything inside of their country. And so Piper is going after that technology. He wants to control it. He wants to be in charge of the country. And he thinks that using these hackers to get there is going to get him to the place he wants to be at, kind of ruling everyone. And so we do have to go to the center of technology. We're going to see some really interesting things there. The building itself is really dang cool. The people that kind of guard it, very interesting. And there may or may not be more than one double agent. I'm excited for this one. It's a lot of fun. I'm actually excited to continue on with this series. This has been something that a lot of people have asked me about. So in the future, I do plan on writing more of these. Right now, there are the 2 books, and both of them were surprise releases. So they dropped without any warning to my fans, and they all hit #1 in all their categories the day it dropped, which is pretty dang fun. So I had a great time writing this one. She is sassy, she is sarcastic, and she has the best fashion. So if you're cosplaying characters, Muffet's the one. It is good. You can actually see it this side. You can actually see some of it. You can't see her full outfit here, but oh, so good, so good. Muffet and Spider, their fashion, man. Most fun I had with fashion of everything that I've written. Just so fun, so fun. All right, friends, go ahead and drop your suggestions for what we should be doing next week. We will take that into consideration. We will vote in the newsletter. We'll vote on social media, and I will join you again next week for another live book reading. So I hope that you enjoyed today's. Go check out the World Portal, play the games, do the fun things. You know the drill, and I will see you again next week. Until then, have a great